Heil me, man.
Heil Hitler.
What? You can heil me better than that.
God speaks to each of us as he makes us, then walks with us silently out of the night. These are the words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your recall, go to the limits of your longing. Embody me. Flare up like a flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you. Beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. That was Go to the Limits of Your Longing by poet Rainer Maria Rilke. I'm Erin Brown.
I'm Jennifer Trujillo.
I'm Eric Trommater, and this is World Cinema History.
Hitler has only got one ball. Goering has two but very small. Hitler has something similar. A core of rebels and all.
This week on World Cinema History, we're discussing Taika Waititi's 2019 film Jojo Rabbit about a young boy in Nazi Germany dealing with how the war is affecting himself and his family and his country. It's one of my favorite films, and it, I believe, quite rightfully won an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Jennifer, what are your first thoughts on this film?
The film I found to be an incredibly powerful dramedy, I would say, a dark drama and comedy mixed together. I thought it had an incredible juxtaposition of humor and drama. I think it is a powerful story of coming of age, of growth. I mean, the arc that our young Jojo goes through is pretty incredible. And the young actor playing him does an incredible job of pulling him along through that journey in the film. I have not read the book Caging Skies by Christine Luenens.
Taika Waititi didn't even know how to pronounce it in the director's commentary.
And people can pronounce his name, so way to go.
That's true. People have a hard time with Waititi. A lot of times people put this emphasis on the second syllable, and that's not it. And I had a friend that didn't know how to pronounce Taika. Imagine saying tiger with a Kiwi accent and replace the G with a K. Taika.
Or tiger with a K, or...
Because it means tiger. The word for they don't have tigers in New Zealand, so the Maori use the English word, but they don't really have a G sound either. So, well, they kind of do, but it's like a swallowed G. I haven't read the book. From what I was reading, Jojo in the book isn't as likable as he is in the film, and I really think that the casting of this kid was perfect. Taika's really good at casting and directing kids.
Wow, it would be hard to stomach him if he was not as likable.
Taika got the idea for making the film because his mother got him to read the book Caging Skies. But he changed it up Taika style because he always tends to have a young boy protagonist in his films. I think he's like trying to fix his own childhood, you know?
I was going to ask about that, if that was a theme, because you had suggested Jojo Rabbit and then you said boy, and I did watch both this week as homework. I did it.
Yeah.
I did what I was, did it.
Hooray, you did it.
Did all the things.
And that's what you think of Boy, but that's not the subject of this episode, even though I'd really love to know your thoughts on it at some point when we're not recording it.
You could put them in the comments on our episode on Boy.
There you go.
And we could have a great conversation there.
Oh, we have an episode already recorded on Boy.
Yes, we do. That's one of the first
so we have
episodes
homework. Everybody listening has homework. Go listen to Boy. Watch Boy. And put some comments in. Let's go.
So, Eric, what are your first thoughts on the films? Your turn now.
This is one of my favorite films of recent times, but the year it came out was a great year for movies. Parasite was that year. My favorite film of that year was Saint Maud, Rose Glasses, great horror film. Little did we know right before the pandemic, but we did not realize how good we had it. There was just a rush of good movies at the end of that year. Films that I mean a lot to other people that I didn't particularly care for, like Joker, were all out at the same time. And I don't think I appreciated until this viewing this time just how special this film was. Now, do I think it was better than Parasite or Saint Maud? No, of course not. But I did take, I think, for granted that, wow, the movies are just going to be this good going on. And then, of course, a year later, we were in the pandemic and there were no movies at all. I did get to see this several times because it was on HBO, like, virtually every day. And this is one of those things we talked about in the China is Near episode, where this movie bears rewatching, I think, more than a lot of films that I would rate as, in inverted commas, better than it. Because of its pacing, because of the use of music, because of the bright colors, because of the editing style, I could probably rewatch this and probably I've seen this film probably 6 or 7 times, which, that's not something I'm going to say about a lot of the Ingmar Bergman films that we're going to be talking about in the future, or Akira Kurosawa, like we talked about last week, or definitely like Michelangelo and Antonioni films. I think there should be a special category for thoughtful entertainment like this that is able to work on you at both the entertainment level and then also something that years later, we're 6 years out. I think about this film a lot, and I think about the themes of this film a lot. And that, I think, is just as much of a talent as some of the, in quotes, masters of cinema that we talk about on this show. And maybe it's a coincidence, but we keep running into the same themes in these films, or the same directorial techniques in these films that we've been doing. I was thinking about Ancora Domani while I was watching this from 2024, and, well, technically 2023, and its use of anachronism to bring home that this is a modern problem, and I'm talking about modern issues. I was thinking a lot about Seven Beauties in this, not only in the use of anachronisms with the "oh yeah" opening, but also in the use of a character who is immediately not likable, and so we have to see him go through various humiliations in order for us to grow with him. And both of those also taking place during World War II. And then a third one I would add, because it's also a dark comedy the way the other two are, would be a film that we haven't covered yet, which was Roberto Benigni's Life is Beautiful, which actually takes place in a concentration camp during World War II. Erin, you chose this one, I chose the other two, but that we as cinemaphiles are drawn to this technique of taking a story from the past and making it relevant for today.
And womanly duties, such as dressing wounds, making beds, and learning how to get pregnant.
I've had 18 kids for Germany. Such a great year to be a girl.
If this film had achieved nothing else, and it achieved a lot in terms of high comedy, in terms of the performances, in terms of the cinematics of it, and in terms of its storytelling, but if it had only achieved that one thing, I still think this would be a great film, but it achieves on so many levels. And it's a film I think up until this rewatch, I had underrated as being kind of a blackly comic piece of entertainment, as opposed to what it really is, which is a thought experiment done at a very high level that happens to have some extremely good comedy in it and a very touching story. And so I think it's a winner on all levels.
I agree. There's a lot of layers to this film, and it's just part of why Taika is my favorite director, is because he's got so many layers to pretty much everything he does. I want to go back to, you guys don't think Jojo was particularly likable at first. I thought he was likable from the beginning, even though he was wanting to be a Nazi, because you could tell he really didn't want to be. He just wanted to belong. He's this lonely kid with no friends, and his father is missing and his sister is dead. He's found something he can belong to, but once they get to the camp and they want him to kill that rabbit, I thought it was actually very brave of him to try to let the rabbit go, because they were trying to push him to do something that he really had a problem with. He stood up to them. And another thing that I noticed when they were doing the book burning, there was a moment where he stopped and he was really not sure about what he was doing. He really didn't like it. And you could see Captain K in the background also really not liking it and taking a drink from his flask. I think that he had a lot of likability to him, and he was just going along with something that made him feel like he belonged to something.
I thought he was smug. I was rooting for the rabbit, and I was rooting for the hand grenade because I just thought he was a smug little kid, and he reminded me so much of myself at that age, and I hated me.
I get it now. Your trauma is invading this film.
He was to Nazism what I was to movies when I was his age.
That says something, though. That he is to Nazism what you were to movies. What if you had been him in that day? What if you had only had Nazism around you? It's so easy to get somebody who doesn't belong to do terrible things.
Yeah, what if my imaginary friend, instead of being Steven Spielberg when I was 10 years old, was Adolf Hitler?
Bestest, most loyal little Nazi I've ever met. Not to mention the fact you're really good looking. So you're gonna get out there and you're gonna have a great time, okay?
Okay.
That's the spirit, okay.
To your point, he was very relatable because of that.
He's this little lonely kid that doesn't fit in, and he finds a way to fit in, and it's horrible. But he's got a good heart. And even his mother talks about that later. Is like, I think that she knows that that's not truly the case, and that's why she gives him the lesson when they're walking through town and all the bodies are hanging. She grabs him and makes him look and tells him to look. And he says, what did they do? He said, what they can, or what they could.
Well, and you can't not like that. The actor that plays him. He is a very, very likable young man.
He's a sweet little dude.
Yeah. Roman Griffith Davis is the young fellow's name. Yeah. And
I want to see him do more stuff, honestly, as he grows up, because I think he's 18 now. God, he's my kid's age. That's
I did see Archie Yates, who plays Yorkie, is the new Home Alone kid. I haven't seen them. He did well out of it. And he, I think, steals the movie, quite honestly. But
I loved Yorkie.
Yeah, this is one of those "who is your favorite character and why is it Yorkie" type thing. But
pretty much.
Yeah.
But
I need a cuddle.
I heard they eat babies and have sex with dogs. I mean, that's bad, right? Sex with dogs? Yeah, the Englishmen do it too. We have to stop them before they eat us and screw all our dogs. I'm gonna go home and see my mother. I need a cuddle.
We talk about the patriarchy a lot on this podcast. And they're going for the kids like Jojo, the kids that are ostracized and they don't fit in. And so now you need to think about how you would have been in those days. Jennifer, so what did you feel about Jojo and about Eric's childhood?
Eric's childhood. I cannot comment on Eric's childhood, and I just wish growth for everybody and everybody a chance to have a second chance, right? To rethink things, to retake things. It's a whole know better, do better kind of thing. And then even grace on that. Because even sometimes when we know better, we don't always do better. We hesitate or we try a different way. Jojo, he's a mixed kid, right? I mean, the actor agreeably is adorable, and Jojo, portrayed by is adorable. He's very mixed. He is a contradiction through the whole film for me. Likable, not likable, likable, not likable. I mean, I think he is sweet and endearing, and I am attached to him as a protagonist. So I care about his growth journey and the journey he makes in his home with himself, with his mother, with Ilsa, and, what he does there. I agree. He stands up about the rabbit, but then he, not even does he stand up about the rabbit. He rushes forward, seemingly on his own, backed by his imaginary friend of Adolf, with the hand grenade. And it is very telling that, he just jumps with such fury and rushes forward with that hand grenade. And then the minute he realizes there's a problem, Adolf is exit stage left and leaves Jojo by too bad, kid, leaving you alone. I'm out. Yeah. Don't let the bomb hit you. I'm not going to cover you. I don't push you for cover. You're going to take the brunt of it. Shocker that Adolf would do that.
Yeah, imaginary Adolf was such a dick the whole way through. And I think that was the unlikable part of Jojo that he has to fight with, was imaginary Adolf, constantly offering himself cigarettes and eating roast unicorn while everybody was starving and all that stuff.
And unlike Near Dark, we don't see any children smoking, so that, a sign of the times.
True. He even said, "Stop offering me cigarettes. I'm 10 years old." Yeah.
I mean, I think that Adolf is incredible comedic relief and twisted. I mean, that's a whole other character. But even on his own, Jojo swings in his judging, in his smugness, in his trying to stand firm and tall in what he's being, in his want to be a Nazi, in his want to be a patriotic German, right? He wants to do the right thing in regards to that. Like,
Yeah.
And that was
Like he's
the one
filling the-
element that was not from the novel, the imaginary.
it
What, the
wasn't.
imaginary Hitler?
The imaginary
Yeah.
Hitler. The novel
That makes
was centered on Jojo and Elsa and the death of his mother, and it was a dramatic novel, not comic. So that was something that back in 2011, when this screenplay was first being developed by Waititi, he injected this. I'm going based on the director's commentary.
As a representation of Jojo's subconscious, just, the things that he thought, the role he's trying to fill as a German man, because he's the man of the house now at 10 years old because his father's missing. This is what he's been taught his whole life from society, not necessarily his parents. And he's trying to be what he imagines a German man would be. And it's,
And it's also
he could be so much
what
better.
a little boy might think Hitler was like, based on German propaganda. The film opens with the German version of "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and you see it cut to scenes of what Waititi refers to as Hitler mania, done in the way of Richard Lester's A Hard Day's Night and edited the same way. And we're supposed to and do get this idea of the Nazis as being the Beatles of Germany in the 1940s at that time.
Oh, cult of personality stuff, like like how MAGA is now. It's, you get a charismatic leader and everybody wants that and everybody goes crazy for that, even if that's not the thing that needs to happen. And using Beatlemania as a representation of that was, I think, fit perfectly.
And to take this back to the 10-year-old me, it was a kind of an Elsa figure who came into my life. I used to have a dartboard with Sylvester Stallone's face on it, and I would throw darts at it.
I see.
Because I hated Rocky, and I was like, characters like Brian De Palma and Michael Cimino are being ignored, and people are putting praise on this alpha male, and they're not talking enough about Scorsese, and they're not talking enough about Raging Bull. And then I had an Elsa named Wendy Keeley who came into my life and knew as much about film as I did, called me on my own bullshit, humbled me a bit, and we became great friends. When you were young, you do create father figures out of celebrities and father figures out of idols.
I just don't want a dead person in my house. How would you like it?
I'd love it. More dead people in my house, please. Look, just all the time you two are spending together, it's making me feel very uncomfortable.
You suggested it in the first place.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Besides, it's for the book.
God, you're right. I'm sorry. Did I make it weird? It's weird now, isn't it?
Here's where you and I are definitely going to disagree again, because I absolutely love the scenes with Hitler. I think Waititi's performance is still the weakest thing in this movie.
You look great.
Thank you. Now, listen, Jojo, can I give you some really good advice? When you see what's in her mind and where she's trying to make you go in your mind, you must go the other way. Get what I'm saying? Do not let her put you in a brain prison. That, dear Jojo, is one thing that cannot and must not ever, ever happen to a German. Do not let your German brain be bossed around.
I won't let her boss my German brain around. Mein Führer.
Try not to.
And you can tell he is simply line reading all the way through this and doesn't have a huge range. And the reason I think it sticks out, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's not, but the other performances in this are so uniformly excellent that it sticks out as the worst element of the film.
It was funny. It was meant to be funny and a little unsettling.
And it was hilarious, don't get me wrong. I understand that he's an imaginary friend, so he's supposed to be different from the rest of the film, but there's a difference between different and wooden, and he is wooden by comparison with the very natural performances throughout this. It isn't that It's different from the rest of the performances because he's doing that on purpose. But I'm going to say this. He is a great director. He is a wonderful writer. I don't think he's a great actor. Now, I've seen him do very good things. I was very full of praise for his performance in What We Do in the Shadows. He was excellent as Blackbeard on Our Flag Means Death. God, it would have sucked if I couldn't remember that show.
Yeah, you wouldn't have heard that.
Erin would have quit. But
I'm out and then gone.
But here and to a lesser extent in Boy, there's almost that feeling you get when you watch an actor acting against somebody on a green screen where he just isn't interacting at all, which I understand. Some of that was deliberate to make it feel like he's an imaginary friend, so he's not literally interacting. Some of it is you're not watching a good performance and you're not following a performance throughout the film. Now, despite that, I think it's a great film. It's not an actual, fatal flaw in the film because the dialogue that he delivers is hilarious. But, and you and I are going to disagree, but I don't think Waititi's acting chops were up to this. And I imagine this film might have been a masterpiece if he had gotten, say, a Christian Bale or somebody who does acting and acting alone for a living and who had embraced and enhanced the character as opposed to just simply reading the very funny lines. I think this would have been an even better film, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. You're wrong, but it makes sense. No, you're not wrong. You have an opinion, and that's totally valid. I disagree strongly because I think he was great. I think the role was right for him because it had to be silly and cartoony. I mean, he's playing Hitler. He's going to make him an idiot. And one of the reasons he chose to play Hitler is because what would piss Hitler off more than being played by a Polynesian Jew? I mean, Taika's birth name is Taika David Cohen. So yeah, a Polynesian Jew playing Hitler, good. I want that. I want life to be like that, where somebody can shit all over a monster the way that he did. But no, I think the way that he delivered the lines, I don't think he was wooden. I never see him as wooden. Like I said in the Boy episode, he's the first person to tell you he's not a great actor, but I disagree. I think he has a lot of charisma, and he delivers the lines in a really funny way that just really works for that specific character who only ever interacts with Jojo. Jennifer, what do you think?
I think I lean more towards Erin's opinion. I think he played Hitler just really funny and very mixed. And I think there might have been some stiffness in those moments, but I think maybe it was an accident or maybe it was a lacking on his part, but I think it comes through really nicely in another level of, contrast or juxtaposition that comes through in the film, that he's, I'm very serious and I'm a very powerful dictator and I'm all knowing and I'm also incredibly goofy and silly. And I thought his physical comedy with Hitler, again, like running with the hand grenade, or when he throws the tantrums, or when he's delightfully eating the roasted unicorn, it's funny. I thought he provided a lot of comic relief on that sense, which was it's ironic to laugh and find humor or find yourself liking Hitler, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I liked the character of Hitler in this. I liked the imaginary friend, and that's weird to be like, oh, I liked Hitler because he's funny and he's goofy and he's really silly and stupid and over the top.
It's fine. It's fine because he's not Hitler. He's a boy's fantasy,
imaginary.
Fantasy about Hitler, and so you're not going to fantasize about a hero being unlikable.
I liked how Hitler changed over the course of the film, too. The less Jojo needed him, the worse he got. So early on, when you first see him, the second time you see him, right before the hand grenade scene, which I also do want to point out, his physicality during that scene, when he was running and jumping and stuff, I love that. Taika is really, really, really great as a physical comedian, too, But, early on, he's supportive of Jojo, and when he's, Jojo's psyching himself up in the mirror before he goes to the camp, and he's helping him say Heil Hitler and all that. And then when Jojo doesn't kill the rabbit, he's trying to comfort him. It's the father figure that Jojo needs because he doesn't. His dad has been missing for a few years at this point, I believe. He doesn't have any men around him. He just has his mother, who he loves, but in this society, women are looked down on. Shocking, I know. Women being looked down on by men in power who say that women should do certain roles and act a certain way.
Yeah, gee,
Imagine
lucky
that.
things have changed, and nothing.
Yes.
It's not like that at all.
It's
today.
not repeating itself now at all.
Yeah. Boy, we had a close one there with fascism in the 1940s. Luckily, it was defeated and never heard from again.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're so close to that now. It's terrifying.
Yep. It is. It's horrific. And that's why we have to keep talking about it. We have to keep doing movies like this and talking about it in whatever art form we have, because there are things that are happening now that are terrible and things that are happening that are actually very, very hopeful. Like there's kids in North Carolina that are protesting at their school and going down the halls of their high school chanting "fuck ICE" and things like that. And it's like, these kids are good. This gives me hope for the future.
And, that's something that Waititi talks a lot about in the director commentary, is his idea for adapting this when his mother gave him the book back in 2011 was he saw the hardening of views on the right, and he saw the rise of extremism coming, and he thought, and again, we go back to my opening comments about how do I make this story not, boy, bad Nazis were bad back then, and bring it into the modern day so that we're thinking about this in terms of what's going on today.
That's why he aged Jojo down, is like catch him before he goes full Nazi. Because he already had, the stuff about him that wasn't likable, where he was smug and he had these horrible racist viewpoints. That wasn't really who he was. He always was good-hearted from the beginning, and you could tell because, his mother was the same way in the way they interacted, because I want to talk about relationships too while we're talking about these things. But catch him early before those terrible ideas crystallize, and you might actually prevent somebody from going down that path. Okay, good.
Here I'm going to praise
Perfect.
Waititi, because top to bottom, I think this is just an incredibly well-made film. I know he gets compared a lot to Wes Anderson because of his use of color, and this is an extremely colorful film, and his use of fantasy. But there is a visual sense that he has. For instance, when you see the Americans coming at the end of the film, all of the Jeeps are completely clean. There's no mud on there's no sign that they went through all of France and most of Germany. Everyone's, the hats, all of the soldiers' uniforms look like they had just come out of the laundry. And I think that's beautiful. Now, you would, another director would say, well, the audience is going to expect them to have, or they're going to ask, why are they so clean or what have you. Waititi was able, I think, to look past it and say, well, how would this look to people who have been living through famine, hunger, and all of the deprivations of war? That's what these troops would look like, just the shining example. And it's beautifully done.
Before he got into film, he was a painter. He studied art, and it was visual art, and he would so you can tell by the way he sets up his shots, it looks like paintings. And by using a visual language, by having the soldiers show up and they're all clean, by having the color of the film fade, the worse things get for Jojo. He knows how to make a strong visual impact. I think the most obvious one is when Jojo finds his mother. He follows that butterfly, and it's like all snowy and gray, and he sees this bright blue butterfly, and he follows it, and then stands up and looks, and there are her shoes, which, gut punch. That, oh, God. If you don't burst into tears the first time you see that, like, did you even watch the same movie?
But he set that scene up earlier when she's walking along the ledge and he's walking down, and you see her cut off at the exact same spot where she's hanging, and you see her, and she's wearing the red shoes. And that, I think...
They do that a couple of times.
Yeah. Which, that is a... I'm not going to say a Wes Anderson trick, because Wes Anderson learned it from Jean-Luc Godard and Truffaut, and Truffaut learned it from Hitchcock, who learned it, etc. When he gets compared to Wes Anderson, it's probably because Waititi isn't somebody who says, "Oh yeah, I really watched a lot of Jean-Luc Godard and Francois Truffaut films." But he does say that he owes a lot to Wes Anderson, and so I think it's just an easy critical thumbprint. But
Yeah.
I didn't think of Wes Anderson when I saw those scenes. I thought of Jean-Luc Godard, and I thought of Francois Truffaut, and then when I saw those scenes in the Truffauts and in the Godard films, and again, I've said this before, I think Godard is probably the most influential filmmaker in the history of cinema. So to say something was influenced by Godard is like saying it's, available on streaming. So it is neither a compliment nor an insult. Again, I'm not saying he's directly influenced by it or even directly influenced by Wes Anderson. What I am saying is because we notice it because it is ingenious and because it works on us at a psychological level that at that moment, all you know is the lump in your throat. And you don't realize that it was set up 18 scenes before.
Right. I mean, there's at least 2 scenes where you just see her shoes and her legs from that angle. There's one at the swimming pool and then one on the wall after she ties his shoes together and she's like dancing because the first thing she wants to do is dance, which is what Elsa says also. She wants to, when she's free, she wants to dance. And it's important. And he sees the shoes and he tries to tie her shoes and he can't do it. And that's just so heartbreaking. And it cuts to the roofs of the houses with windows that make it look like eyes watching him. Just so emotionally devastating at that moment. You want to just grab the little kid and hug him and take care of him, and he can't. And there's nobody to do that for him. He just has to go back to Elsa, and then he tries to stab her because he blames her, but he knows he can't really blame her. And she's there to help comfort him because she loved his mother as well.
There's the relationship with Ilsa and the mother, and then also Jojo and Ilsa. And the mom had a relationship with each of them, and they're very interesting. And that was happening. Ilsa spent a lot of time out of the closet, out of the little hiding space. Which is nice. She had some freedom in the house, and was able to develop a relationship with both of them.
Is he asleep? He's different. He suspects something. He thinks Inga's ghost ends up here. You remind me of her. You really do. I would love to have seen her grow into a woman. But I'll have to watch you instead. I don't know anything about being a woman.
And that is where I was going to go, is relationships in this film. And the relationship between Rosie and Elsa was important because she'd lost her daughter, Inga. And she had Inga's friend now that was able to live with them, and she was able to take a maternal role with this girl who's lost her whole family. And it showed a lot of who Rosie was when she wasn't around Jojo.
And, most of those scenes were improvised. They weren't. He had not created Elsa as what he felt was a full. This is from the director's commentary, as what he felt was a fully rounded character. And he decided when he met Thomasin McKenzie, he had this vision of her as being a bully and bullying Jojo because she's a couple of years older. And they developed that through improvisation, not the type of improvisation that they did on What We Do in the Shadows, where they had no idea of the script, but where they would read the lines and then just go back and, let's rewrite that because, and you do it with a more bullying tone in your voice. And this is one of his great talents, is when he's working with children, he's very patient with children, and he's able to do multiple takes with them until he has to do less and less takes because they suddenly know what he wants as it moves on. Thomasin McKenzie was able to create that on demand and create this consistent character and create this dynamic of her as a bullying character.
Weak, great Aryan. There are no weak Jews.
I am descended from those who wrestle angels and kill giants. We were chosen by God. You were chosen by pathetic little men who can't even grow a full mustache.
And in that clip, you can hear he is giving agency to Jojo. He is not allowing this to be a all Nazis are bad and all Jews are right scene, because there is that is actually a moment where I actually turned a little bit and felt for Jojo. This is the person who I said earlier I was cheering for the rabbit and I was cheering for the hand grenade. But at this point, I felt for Jojo, because even though everything that he believes in is absolutely evil, it's also everything he believes in is being shattered before his eyes. And it is not in the writing so much as the performance and the way that scene is done.
Yeah, both of those kids were so freaking good. They were so perfect for their roles. And it felt like Ilsa's bullying was more like what a big sister would do to a little brother. So I didn't see anything menacing or mean-spirited to it. It was just, you're a bratty little kid and I'm going to get one up on you, is what I saw from her more than anything else. And I love that they were able to improvise the character and make her much more well-rounded than she was, because, that was really important. You needed to root for her too, not just because she's a Jewish kid hiding from the Nazis, but because she's a good character and you want to know what's going to happen.
I mean, I think she teased him in a sibling way, but I think she definitely, maybe it was me and me putting it into it, probably in interpretation, that she had some judgment of the cult of Nazism that this kid was really trying to cling to so firmly.
Well, they sent her parents to the camp.
She's well aware of that, so I think she definitely lashes out at the cult of Nazism, and Jojo when he is trying to stand in being a good Nazi, and I think she's aware that he's fragile in his position more than he is. He thinks he's staunch and doing the right thing, and I think she sees it, but I do think she attacks it, not just the sibling. I think she goes after I think she does a nice job of plying at him and his beliefs and getting him to sway from his path of I'm going to be this thing, and to be more human and to be attached to her. And like she plays into him.
Yeah, like when they were, she was helping him with the book and he had her draw a picture of where they live, and they're talking and she's drawing the picture and gives it to him, and it's a caricature of Jojo. He goes, "That's just my dumb head." And she said, "Yeah, that's where we live." Kind of nailed it. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Speaking of Thomas and Mackenzie, some of the other better scenes that she has in this are the ones that she has with Scarlett Johansson's Rosie. You expect to see a different side of her in this because she's no longer bullying a younger child. Yeah, but you see the same kind of defiance, and I put myself also in Elsa's shoes. There, what would I make of a society that has sent my parents to their death, is hunting me, and then the kindness of this one woman and their interaction, but there's still a defiance there. And what I think that Waititi and Mackenzie were able to do was create a character so complex that and so many films fail at this, that it carries through to their scenes with other people. One of the criticisms of this film is it changes tone. So you have a scene like that's so dramatic, and you have Scarlett Johansson really putting a lot of emotion into the scene, and then the next scene you have Sam Rockwell's Captain Klensdorf, obviously queer-coded, feeding strudel to someone else in their undershirt, and the kind of low, in inverted commas, comedy of that. But I don't think this would have worked as a straight-up, say what Chaplin did with The Great Dictator, or what Lubitsch did with To Be or Not to Be, the original, not the Mel Brooks remake. I don't think that kind of a style where you're constantly just always poking fun works when you have a story that is about human growth. And I think I would actually rank this above those films, as masterful as they are and as well considered as they are, because of the tonal shifts, because what Waititi shows us is life is like that.
Yeah, he's really great at taking drama and comedy. So you'll have the dramatic scenes and build up the tension, and then you release it with the comedy. But there's still a thread through the comedy of important things that are going to happen later. You mentioned Captain K and feeding strudel to to Freddie Finkel. He's such a great character. I love Captain K. He's someone that is also hiding who he is. He has these scenes that are kind of haha jokey. He and Freddie Finkel are together and it's funny, but it's not really funny. This is a guy that's taking what he does very seriously because he has to, but he's a gay man in a place where that could get him killed, him and his boyfriend. And he can't let on that anything's happening, but they can't not have it happening either. So like the uniform that he wears at the end of the film, that he's designing the uniform and shows it to Jojo when Jojo's talking about his book.
Hey, come here. You might like to check out what I'm working on. As part of our preparations for the invasion, I'm redesigning my uniform. Note the feathers for aerodynamics, the sparkly color to dazzle the enemy, the boots purely decorative. And this is a Gatling gun mounted with a radio which emits annoying music to dishearten the enemy.
And it's this really flamboyant with feathers and epaulets and a gun that also plays loud, obnoxious music. Anyway, when they get to that montage of the battle scene, which was brilliant, when he's got the fully realized outfit, he and Freddie Finkel both are wearing it, and there are pink triangles everywhere on those uniforms because he's finally like, fuck it, we're gonna die. I'm gonna show who I am. And so they're wearing matching outfits covered in pink triangles. You know, you never see Freddie Finkel again. I'm fairly certain he died. But then you get that, you know, it's kind of funny that he's wearing the uniform, but then you see him at the end and there's the emotional gut punch moment of the Russians grab Jojo because he's wearing a Nazi jacket and they pull him over with the guys who are going to execute. He doesn't know what's happening. And Captain K is just talking to him and he takes his hat off as he's talking and says, "I liked your book. It was great. Your mother was a genuinely good person. Here, let me take a look at you." Stands him up, brushes him off, and then pulls off his jacket, calls him a Jew, and pushes him down and spits at him. He saved his life at his own expense because he knew he was going to die. The kid didn't have to die.
Well, and
you know?
that was the second time he saved his life, because he saved his life before when you had Stephen Merchant's Herman Dietz. And that's a very well-handled scene as well.
It's a brilliant scene, yeah. It's another one that's got the comedy, but also the really, really intense drama and tension, and you know that this is a life or death situation for them. But it starts out so goofy with, you know, this 6'7" guy who they put on a box to look down at, I think 5'9" Sam Rockwell, just to show this massive height difference. And all the heiling.
Heil Hitler.
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 Hey, Jojo! Hey, guys! Good to see you. My bicycle got a flat tire, so I carried it.
Captain Klenzendorf. Heil Hitler.
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 Heil Hitler. You know Freddie Finkel.
Heil Hitler. 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 Heil Hitler.
So, did I miss anything?
No, we were just Heil Hitlering the boy, and then Heil Hitlering yourself, and then, of course, Heil Hitlering Freddie Finkel, and now we're in the midst of a routine inspection.
So all the heiling reminded me of a scene in Spies Like Us where they were introducing themselves as doctors. It was just doctor, 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 doctor for like 5 minutes, and they repeated it over and over again. They did the same thing here with, you know, the Heil Hitler bit, because it's so stupid and so ridiculous. And it's made for a really goofy, funny bit before they go into this just like heavy, serious tension, you know? And
you find out afterwards. That's the great part.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know why he's there, but...
A traditional film would have had the narrator explain, oh, she had said May 1st and it was actually May 9th or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
But this... the way he handles it narratively is, I think, much more ingenious and brings it home a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, the guy knows what it is to hide, and he's going to help somebody who's innocent continue hiding. And he's going to try to keep Jojo from turning into the people that would kill him or Elsa or Freddie Finkel or his mother.
Waititi has an interview in there with Sam Rockwell. And one of the things Rockwell said was that the original version of this character, as written, was a lot more flamboyantly gay, but also a lot more strictly Nazi at the beginning. So, for instance, that opening monologue.
And even though it would appear our country's on the back foot and there really isn't much hope in us winning this war, apparently we're doing just fine.
All of the cynicism was something that he and Waititi had developed together. And the queer coding was backed off more and more and more as they were creating this character, because they realized that this character needed to be cynical about everything. And then the creation of that uniform was something that they created together. Maybe this guy was in that version of Berlin that we saw in Cabaret during the Weimar Republic and missed drag and the colorful costumes and the dancing and that kind of a life, and was somebody who, like Jojo, was indoctrinated by Nazi ideology, and like Jojo, is slowly but surely it's occurring to him that he picked the wrong side. And it is interesting that is all something that's neither in the novel nor in Waititi's original screenplay, but came out of the improvisation process that he uses in the way that he works with actors.
You know, that makes the character so much better than he would have been originally. I love that. The best directing, as far as actors are concerned, is if you're collaborative and you can help your actors build the character along with, you know, the vision that you had for the character. You come up with results like Captain K, and I think it was a brilliant choice to do that.
And if you just took the queer coding scenes from this film back to back, you have created just a gay stereotype. We see then where his cynicism comes from, because like Elsa, he is somebody who's being hunted, in his case, by the very regime that he's lost an eye for and killed many, many people in aid of.
I think there's some things for me that I had questions on that maybe one of you know about the Rosie and Ilsa. I think Scarlett Johansson does a great job of Rosie, and I think her moments with her son and with Ilsa are pretty remarkable. I wanted to know about the Ilsa thing. Was Ilsa really her daughter's friend? I feel like it was, because she even had a guess at the, she was guessing, trying to remember the birthday. Or do you think she's just some other, someone from the resistance somewhere that she took in? Or was it a child that was in her daughter's life?
I didn't question it. How about you, Erin?
I wasn't sure at first, but watching it a few times, I think she was actually Inga's friend. They never made it clear, but I don't think she had a reason to lie about it.
I was going to say, and she remembers him as a little boy, and I think that plays into the whole bullying element of it. So, but no, I never questioned it. So, yeah.
I mean, I just think the moments of her getting to watch her grow, and she says, I won't have her, but I'll have you. It's a very nice part of the film. Whether it's Taika's writing or Christine Lunen's writing, allowing the Rosie character to give her son growth, to let him, rather than saying, you can't be a Nazi, you don't want to do this, this is the way, allowing him to go through, there's something to letting your kids make their own mistakes, right? Like, it's very different when you shove it down their throats, when you actually learn a lesson like, oh shit, I didn't study for this test and I failed the test and there are consequences.
Yeah, well,
allowing...
As a parent of two, I can tell you, telling them not to do something is the way of ensuring that they will.
Yeah. And allowing natural consequences when the consequences aren't, picking the times when the consequences are less dire or have enough impact or do have some level of dire impact has a longer lasting effect on learning. And she does a very nice balance of that. And some of the scenes with Rosie and Jojo are just adorable. Like, the dancing is adorable at the beginning. You know what I mean? Her playing, that part is so abrupt and so shocking and almost scary for a minute when she's like, you want your dad? Here's your dad. Right? Like, careful what you wish for.
The way she puts the soot on her face and plays the two characters. That's extremely well done. I don't know for sure if that was improvised, but it felt like something very natural that came out of the characters. That may have been done as written. Who knows? But it felt improvisational, but it also felt very natural. Like the character that we had seen of Rosie would do that.
Well, and it made me question they say her father's missing, but I wonder as we watch Rose develop, and I learned about her. I mean, this is the second time I had seen the film, but it was a very different watch. That you know, her husband may be gone by choice.
Well, he's part of the resistance.
She may
He's
be.
part of the resistance, and she's keeping that from him. And we find that out after she dies. That his father actually deserted and joined the resistance, and that when she's not there, she's going off to help him in doing resistance thingies. We don't know exactly what.
Oh, you think she's still with his father?
Not with his father, but reason he is away is because he is off as part of the resistance, and he's fighting as part of the resistance, or dead.
Did you know? She didn't tell me much. Only that she worked with her friends, and your father was somehow involved from afar. No, he's fighting in the war. She said he'll be home as soon as the war's over. She didn't want to tell you anything for obvious reasons. Because she hated me. Because I'm a Nazi. I'm the enemy. She didn't want you to know anything that could get you in trouble. But now I have nothing. No one. The last time I saw my parents was at the station. They were put on a train. I ran. Slowly found my way back to the city. A friend of my father's hid me, then another friend, and friends of friends. Till your mother took me in.
The other thing I thought, since we're talking about a little bit, is with Taiko's ability. It's interesting. It would just be really interesting. Maybe it's in the director's cut, or to learn more of, or being a fly on the wall when they were working on the adaptation of the book into the screenplay. You're saying Adolph wasn't any part of that, and that he swayed Christine Lunens into accepting that part of it, and that with some time spending time with him, maybe Christine realized, wow, okay, the message I was trying to get across in the book comes across one way, and that this way, the way that the completed work of Jojo Rabbit packages all these messages, is much more a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down kind of thing. It's a way more palatable look.
Yeah, she immediately responded in an email and said, "Yep, go ahead. That sounds good."
Interesting.
And she has been interviewed since and said that she just trusted Waititi based on Eagle versus Shark, that he would do the right thing, and that because she was a big fan of the movie Eagle versus Shark.
It's an interesting aspect of a writer that's willing to take notes, direction, input, allow collaboration. It's just, and that shows through in this, right? That they work together collaboratively and allowed changes in their works to come up with a stronger thing in the end.
Yeah, he was part of a comedy team called the Humor Beasts. It was him and Jermaine Clement. And then there was another comedy troupe he was part of called Now You're a Man or something like that. And that had him and Jermaine and Brett McKenzie, also from Flight of the Conchords, and a couple other people that I don't remember who they were. So yeah, he started out doing comedy in Wellington with different groups. In fact, the Vampires from What We Do in the Shadows came from this silly act that they had where he would come out as a vampire comedian and Jermaine would be in the audience as a vampire heckler. And they'd be like, "You've been heckling me for 300 years!" And they just developed those characters into a short film and then into the longer film, What We Do in the Shadows. So yeah, improvisation is something that he's always done really well.
Yeah, and improv really leans into yes and, right? Like taking other ideas and groupthink. Yeah. Well, it comes through in the work for sure.
Yeah, he's really good at working with other people. There's bits of improv in Our Flag Means Death, too, because that's something Rhys Darby also does really well. So they can play off of each other. And when he's got the right people around him, he can do about anything. I think Sam Rockwell was part of doing some of the improv on set there. They just bounce off of each other and are really fun.
Well, they actually wrote the character through improvisation before the camera started rolling. But it is interesting that Captain Klenzendorf was originally written with Rhys Darby in mind back in 2011.
Would have been such a different character, and I love Rhys so much, and I think he would have been great in a role in this, but I don't think that was the role for him. I think that the way Captain K came off with Sam Rockwell is just a lot better than the original conception of the character.
I think we would have liked him too much at the beginning, but it would have been a different character. But maybe a likable Klenzendorf would have worked in, it would have been a different
on some level.
Film.
No, I don't know how it would have worked for the film because of how important Klenzendorf was, the way that he was, how important he became as the film went on. I don't know if it would have changed the film too much, but I'm never going to say no Rhys Darby. I want him to be in all the things, but he has to be right in the things that he's in.
Well, he has a very particular set of talents that he's probably the best in the world at. But one of his particular talents is improvisation. He's one of the best known and best loved improvisation artists that there is.
Okay, come here. Okay, see that American there? Just go give him a hug. Go, run! Let's go! Oh, Yoki. Great news, you've just been promoted and you get your own pistol. Just go and shoot anybody who looks different to us.
Okay.
Jojo, where's your uniform? Here, put the jacket on so they know not to shoot you. We must kill everything that we see. For Hitler! Die, devil, stop!
Rebel Wilson's character.
Oh my gosh, she's hysterical, like Yorkie is, right? Just
pure comic relief. She's had 18 children for Germany.
What do you think of the clone troop as a bit of kind of magic realism in the middle of it? So,
are those her 18 kids that she had for Germany?
No, those are clones. Those are literally clones, and it's and remember she puts the bomb on the backpack. It says "Hug any American that you see," and then they actually had one set of twins, and then the rest is movie magic. To make it look like
it was such. Yeah, it was such a goofy concept. Just a little throwaway joke in the background. It was so odd.
I love it because this isn't a strictly realistic view, and it works for me the same way that the pristine, clean Jeeps and the American soldiers coming over the hill with their uniforms that look like they just got them back from the dry cleaner works, and I think it kind of drives the point home that this is an imaginary point of view. This is a child's view of what the war is like, and put yourself in the vision of a 10-year-old who worships Adolf Hitler. That seems perfectly legit that there would be clone troopers,
Yeah, like the German Shepherds. That's no adult would make that mistake, but it's funny, so it's in there.
Talk about the uses of color. I mean, it's probably overdone and everybody talks about it, but all of the shoes, like all the shoe references, all the use of shoes, and really, you talked about it a little bit earlier, Eric, but just like the subtle use of putting that in so many times to make sure that you see it. But I don't know. It's well done. I think it's a well packaged message and symbolism through the whole thing, and just even the uses of different color and angles, or the use of the symbolism of the choice of the butterfly. To me, I thought was really cool. Butterflies can mean all kinds of stuff, right? They can mean sort of rebirth and regrowth, or also can be a sign of a visiting of someone that's dead. If you see a butterfly, sometimes people think of that, kind of like the cardinal, that it can be a message from heaven, and reminding us that someone is sending you a message from there, or that hope is alive. Yeah, I just thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was really funny and interesting, that choice of that blue butterfly and how long that scene is that the butterfly is flying through before you watch
Chekhov's butterfly, because of course it's like a Chinese nesting doll. It comes back later.
Yeah, it is that. And then how long that scene goes, and you actually have that moment of Jojo smiling and laughing. Like he's a kid for a second, following this butterfly and laughing and smiling and getting close to it. And then he's so close, and suddenly the reveal comes with that is such another giant contrast that comes through. Anyways, those are other things that I thought were pretty damn interesting and cool about this film. There were lots of good things like that. Just very clever. Lots of very clever things that they did in writing or improv or whatever they did, but they pulled together a pretty strong package.
And speaking of the shoes, or, we can call them Chekhov's shoes if you want, but the way that scene is handled, where you don't see her hanging, is perfect, I think, for this film. It's just a mid-register shot with a 50 millimeter lens, but there is still a bit of magic realism about it because you have the attics around that look exactly like the attics that we have seen Elsa and Jojo staring out of, right? And it almost looks like a pair of eyes, the two
eyes, right? Yeah.
Looking at him as he's doing this. And
1,000%. I thought it was a face. Eyes.
It was beautiful. And that's just a beautiful shot. Yeah.
And not seeing her, I think, was even more powerful than showing her. Though I had a moment that I was going to ask both of you or anybody. I mean, I've frozen it and taken a picture of it, like at 1:29 mark. There's a woman lying down in a pile that looks like it could have been Rosie later after being. They don't look like they ever took them down, right? They left them up there, but maybe the Americans or the bombing or something else took them down from the gallows and put them in a pile to be buried or whatever.
I spotted that on this viewing too, and I know it was there deliberately to either remind us that Rosie is dead. I don't know if it was supposed to actually be her body, but that shocking bit of red hair that you see, for a moment I was like, oh, is that her body? And it reminded me. So I know it was there for that, and then again, that's done very, very well.
Yeah,
I haven't even noticed that. I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Well, and it doesn't have to be Rosie for it to work. That's the great part.
It's close enough to Rosie if it's not Rosie for it to work for sure. 1:29 and like 30, I think. But yeah, you'll see it.
So moving on, Eric, you want to talk about anachronisms in this film and how they were used?
Well, the first, of course, the most obvious is the anachronistic soundtrack, where he is using pop music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s in order to bring home to us that fascism isn't in the past. We spoke earlier about how it opens with a German version of I Want to Hold Your Hand and the Beatlemania elements, but you also have Iron Butterfly at one point is playing under a military training sequence. You have scene after scene where the soundtrack, the needle drops are all music that came in between, and they're all old classics, and they all work perfectly. You even hear a Roy Orbison song being sung in German, and it's interesting what Waititi makes the point that should have been obvious, but he says nobody knows this. But of course, the reason why the Beatles and Roy Orbison recorded German versions of their songs is because before they became popular, they played nightclubs in Germany and developed their audience and their craft in Germany before striking it big in the UK and the United States. And so that's why there's so many of those songs, because it was a destination for working bands especially from England, but also from the United States, was to go to places like Berlin and try their wares out there. But the other thing is, we spoke briefly about Rebel Wilson's performance, but she is an anachronism. Her character is an anachronism all the way through this. She responds to almost everything using millennial slang. A lot of it had to have been improvisational, because we know Rebel Wilson to be a very good improver and a very, very good comedian. But her whole character is someone to remind us of how we would react as people living today to the circumstances going around. And in 1945 Germany. What is subtle about this is none of that feels out of place. None of it feels like it's pointing to itself, saying, there isn't anyone holding a sign saying, this means that what is happening here means something to you. It, to me, reminded me of why Shakespeare would set his plays in Elizabethan time, even if it were King Lear and everyone would wear modern dress. It was Shakespeare saying to the Elizabethan audience that this is just as relevant to you now as it was to the ancient Romans. It's the same reason why Caravaggio used modern day anachronisms in his paintings to say, this is a saint, and you too can be a saint. And it's the same reason why songs like Bombs Over Baghdad were used in 2023's Shankara Damani, which was one of my favorite films from 2024. And we have an episode on. And in our episode on Shankara Damani, one of the things that Erin said was that the ending where the mother and daughter are singing that modern day ma 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 song back and forth reminded her a lot of the use of David Bowie's Heroes in German at the end of Jojo Rabbit.
That's true. It did remind me of that. And I did like how that they used that song, because Elsa had said that the first thing she wants to do when she's free is dance. And then we just have the music just start to slowly come up, and they start to slowly react to it. And then they're dancing. And I swear I can see Taika, his movements in what Roman Griffin Davis is doing in his dances. Because he actually will physically show people how to do what he wants them to do. And so, yeah, some of his little moves are definitely Taika moves. It's really cute. And the way that it ends, it just gives you some hope that things are going to get better. They've been through all this horrible stuff, but better things are coming. It's why the quote at the end of it from the poem that I read at the beginning was so meaningful. Like, you have to live through these things that are happening. It won't hurt forever. Things will get better. Everything that happens is going to just happen, whether you like it or not. So just accept it and allow the things to happen, and allow yourself to be present when the things are happening. And I just thought it was a nice and hopeful ending.
It is hopeful, and on that same thing, like there's no enjoyment of the sun without the night. There's no enjoyment of, spring without fall or winter. Like they're all necessary contrasts, and if you don't have good, you don't appreciate. You don't have bad, you don't never appreciate the good.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to give us your final thoughts on this film?
I think it's a film that's worth a watch and worth a rewatch and worth talking about for sure. I think it's painful and beautiful and thoughtful and funny and sad and incredibly relevant in our current day, and I hope not in future days. But history does repeat itself, and we seem to be in a place that this type of story and this cautionary tale is worth watching, hearing, talking about, thinking about, and realizing that perspectives can be changed, and that we can be swayed. I don't know. That's what I say about it. It's a good film. It was worth discussing, worth watching, and I hope anyone that does a rewatch lets us know what they think about it. But please talk in the comments. Please talk about the films. Please give us some engagement, or share it in places and allow people to talk about it on social media in different places, because it's a very powerful message wrapped up with a spoonful of sugar. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you. And where can people find you online?
Yes, the inevitable. Where can you find me? You can find me at gilbertbakerfilmfestival.lgbt, and on Gilbert Baker Film Fest on Instagram, you'll find a link tree to all of our socials and all the ways to contact us and follow the film festival. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Eric, do you want to add any final thoughts to this?
Great movie. Absolutely recommend it. I wouldn't want to have this be my child's first introduction to Adolf Hitler, but if by the time your child sees this film, it's the first thing they learn about Adolf Hitler, you've failed as a parent anyway. Otherwise, I think this is appropriate for almost all ages, and I think it's an important lesson, and yeah, great film. And thank you for choosing it, Erin. It was a wonderful conversation. And you can find me at ETROMMATER, the artist formerly known as Twitter. And more importantly, you can find us at ko-fi.com/World Cinema History, where if you're so inclined, we have a tip jar to help us improve our equipment and create a better podcast for your listening pleasure. Or if you are not, we still have all of our old episodes, all 78 of them, back to back for your listening pleasure. So join us over there at ko-fi.com. Like us, comment, let us know what you think, and let us know what films you want to hear. And thank you very much. Erin, where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Blue Sky at Toad Puppy, and I am on YouTube at Pizza Horse Productions.
In the interest of bringing more people into discussions, this podcast is available on almost every place you can get a podcast. So some people are like, oh, I don't do podcasts, but there's YouTube. So share it to people that you think might really want to get into the conversation. Just putting that out there. You've made it very accessible, Eric and Erin, and I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies, too. They may have good taste in movies. You never know.
Well, and even other people's taste in movies, just like books, expands your brain, right? I think. People tell you something to watch and why somebody watches something versus why you watch it can really, I don't know, it sparks a conversation, but it also sparks, expansion of perspective or ideas. Like this film. That was one final thought that you brought up earlier. Like talking about film, talking about the arts, art being resistance is so valuable. So yes, support this podcast and support independent filmmakers and all kinds of artists, because art is incredibly important in this day and age. There you go. I'll stop. Get off my soapbox. Thanks.
Next week, we're going to continue our episodes on masters of the 1950s and their films about aging and mortality that we started last week with Luke Higginson and Akira Kurosawa's Ikiru. And we're going to continue it with another master, this time Swedish master Ingmar Bergman and his 1957 film Wild Strawberries. Then we are going to have a special episode with a historian named Kevin Harty as we go over The Passion of Joan of Arc from 1928 by Carl Theodor Dreyer and The Trial of Joan of Arc from 1962 directed by Robert Bresson, and compare and contrast the two with medievalist historian Kevin Harty filling in the historical gaps of what Joan of Arc meant and what was the background of the 100 Years' War. So 2 great episodes to look forward to. Plus, we'll be finishing off that series with Victoria de Sica's Umberto D and Yosergio Ozu's Tokyo Story. So those are our episodes for the rest of the year. A lot to look forward to. Thank you. We hope to hear from you next week here on World Cinema History.
Rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Bang, 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 bang goes the farmer's gun. Run, rabbit, run, run, run.